you all. I hope you're all healthy and well and everything at home. And let me see if I can present here. It's my first time using the Google.
It should be down at the bottom if you move your mouse. There you go.
It's working.
You see it? Excellent. Excellent. Okay, let's try presentation. Sometimes that's another wrinkle. Everybody's good there? Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'm real excited to share some of the things going on with Cunard, and some of those of you who may not know Cunard, giving you a little bit of a broad brushstroke of what the brand's all about. We are celebrating our 180th year of the brand. We are an industry icon, one of the biggest innovators, I'd say, in cruising. But that being said, we're a relatively small fleet of only 3 ships right now, but we take a lot of pride in what we do with these 3 ships, really making sure we're curating the best experience on board. We've got this amazing legacy that goes through famous people on board, famous ships over the years. As I said, an innovator, firsts in so many different ways. And then that legacy really continues today. We are really proud that our experience is different and unique than anything else out there in the cruise space. That it is a little bit more sophisticated experience, and it harkens back to some of the older experiences or classic experiences on board, but still with a modern twist. One of our legacies is stars that we've had on board over the years. All the who's who of Hollywood back in the golden age of cruising were on board Cunard ships. So you can see some of those faces. Now we continue that legacy today. Every year we get stars on board. That's and that really doesn't happen on cruise ships per se, but because it's part of our legacy, excuse me, we continue to get some really big names that are on board every single year. We also had the first and only major motion picture movie premiere on board one of our ships when Queen Mary 2 was the venue for the premiere of The Greatest Showman, which was great. We had all the stars, Hugh Jackman, and the director. The whole cast was on board. So it was a really spectacular event. And these are the kind of things that only happen on Cunard. We also were the backdrop for Steven Soderbergh's latest film starring Meryl Streep, which I think all films have gotten kind of put on hold a little bit. I think it was supposed to come out by now already, but that will be coming out shortly. So we're excited that we get these kind of opportunities that no one else does. Now we are a heritage brand, and heritage brands have to evolve over time. And you can see as some of those have evolved and what they're doing from an advertising standpoint. And Cunard's no different. We want to make sure that we're always staying relevant. This is our latest ad campaign called A World Away that we are teeing up. We've done versions of this the past couple years, but this is the latest iteration and just some of the photography being used from an advertising standpoint to also a lifestyle standpoint. Yeah.
Excuse me, Steve, this is Clark. I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're not seeing your slides advance here. We're still seeing the title slide of your presentation.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like you're not on the...
There we go.
You're back here. Okay, so we'll just use the screen.
And you can do the fit to window, that way everyone...
Yeah, that's... Okay, we'll just go.
Now we're seeing the World Away slide.
Okay, so you missed all these other great slides. I was talking about the stars on board.
We have good imagination, though.
The current stars on board that we've had last several years. There's The Greatest Showman premiere that we had on board, and the Meryl Streep film. So yeah, I was talking a little bit about the heritage brands, and this is some famous heritage brands that you'll recognize. How they advertised the brand back in the day and what they've done more recently in the past 10 years or so, which is always exciting to see how they evolve. And so this is how we've evolved. And so, you know, it's definitely a lot different than things that you would see in the normal, again, cruise space. Some of these ads are a little more whimsical. We also cross over into periodicals like Vogue that you might see a Cunard ad, which you wouldn't typically see a cruising ad. So again, kind of showing how we are very different in that space. Give you a little bit about the background. Who sails on Cunard? Who are some of our guests? People who love enrichment and new and unique experiences. You know, it's people that beyond a cruise, beyond a vacation, they're looking for some sort of enrichment. Guests looking to celebrate, it is the perfect venue for a celebration of any kind. Those who like the idea of a night on the town experience, and social travelers who really enjoy a cosmopolitan crowd. We do source very much globally. To give you a quick snapshot of that, about 60% come from the UK, about 22% from the US, about 12% from Australia, and the rest is very much a sprinkling from throughout the rest of the world. So very cosmopolitan crowd. Luxury guests who expect the best, but also entry-level luxury guests. You know, if we're talking about our suite experience, which is about 15% of our ship, it is hitting every single luxury touch point that you would expect or luxury guests are looking for. But if you're looking at our balconies and below, you're still going to get a luxury experience, but actually a very a really great price point. And travelers who don't care to fly, I'll get into our transatlantic crossings a little bit more, but that is really a great option for people who want to go to Europe and don't want to fly. Very much a small ship feel on board. You never feel crowded, but in the luxury cruise space, we're the only larger ship experience. So many different options. So you can get a little bit of the best of both worlds. Great shopping, great production shows, lots of fantastic venues, and so many unique experiences like doing things like fencing that you wouldn't really imagine doing on a cruise ship. So many great dining options and venues, as I mentioned, anything from a pub to great cocktail lounges to great musical venues and alternative restaurants. Now, as I mentioned briefly, one of the main guests on board Cunard are people that are looking for enrichment. So our Insights program is our lecture series, which we have on every single sailing. We have 5 to 6 lecturers on every sailing. They are experts in their field. They are really, we kind of get the cream of the crop in the lecture series. And so we're really proud of this. And when you go to these lectures, it is standing room only. So you got to get there early. They're extremely popular. And it's not just the lectures up there. They also interact with the guests on board. We do have a little bit of a cocktail mixer we do at the end of each cruise where guests can go in and meet the lectures. Now, as an extension of that, we've been doing more and more special event voyages. This is something, again, unique to us. And this is just a sampling of some of the ones that were in the works for 21. Obviously, things are a little tricky right now, but these are some of the ones that we're working on. And also, some of them are ones that we have done in the past. Now, give you a little flavor of the onboard experience with Cunard. One of the things, again, we are famous for is our gala balls. We don't call them formal nights, we call them gala balls because each of our formal nights is really an event. It's in a sense of occasion that we create on board. And so and if you don't want to get dressed up, we have venues where you can go and be completely casual, like our pub is casual every single night. But most of the ship on our gala nights really becomes the theme of that night. Things like a Roaring 20s night or a black and white ball, masquerade ball. Those are some of the themes that we do on a consistent basis that people really, really love. Part of that is we have the largest ballrooms at sea, the largest dance floors at sea. So we get a lot of dance groups, people who love to dance. And this is really where that theme ball really comes to life. And I think in today, especially in luxury space, extremely important to have a world-class wellness program. We have been working with Canyon Ranch for some time, and we've expanded that partnership where they created a unique spa and wellness experience that is just for Cunard called Mareel. And Mareel means the phosphorescence of the ocean, the fire of the ocean, if you well. And that extends for everything from amazing spa experiences and treatments, everything that you could ask for, to educational, diet, fitness. So it really does kind of run the gamut of wellness experiences. Now, another thing unique to Cunard, only on Cunard, we have the only kennels at sea. These are extremely, extremely popular. We can really accommodate pretty much every size dog. We also accommodate cats. We have 24 kennels. They sell out on every single sailing well in advance, about a year in advance. So it is a very popular program. We only do it on transatlantic crossings. The reason for that is every single country has different laws when it comes to quarantining and things like that. So we have that all sorted out between US and England. So the crossing basically serves as the quarantine. So you are the first off the ship with your pet. It is an extremely, extremely popular experience. This is the kennel's private deck. This is only for the owners and the kennel team. As you can see, we try to have a little bit of fun with it. That we source an actual Brooklyn fire hydrant and an actual Liverpool lamppost, so that we are accommodating our four-legged friends from both sides of the pond, make sure that all their needs are met. But it is a really great program that people really love, and of course our four-legged friends love. So we are we really sail all over the world. What we are probably most famous for is our famous transatlantic crossing. Queen Mary II is such a famous ship. She was made specifically for the transatlantic crossing. She is the only true ocean liner carrying passengers today, the only one, the largest one ever built. And this sailing is special. And I think sometimes people are put off a little bit of like, wait, I'm going to be sailing for 7 days without any ports. But the crossing is special in and of itself. These are some of the selling propositions for the crossing. When you think about, I mentioned there's so many people that really don't like the idea of going and flying. It's such a hassle. Crossing over to Europe is a nice leisurely way to do it, a nice sophisticated way. And it can be cheaper than business class, believe it or not. It's a great packaging tool for advisors to package with a land-based vacation in Europe. We get a lot of advisors do that, or river cruise. So that's been really popular with a lot of advisors. It's a great opportunity for celebrating a landmark moment or personal event in grand style. Connect with the excitement of shopping, dining, sightseeing in New York and London. So you're connecting these two iconic cities, obviously, and it's really fantastic there. And for so many of us who had ancestors who immigrated to North America via ship from Europe, it's there is really something special about kind of going in your ancestors' footsteps. And the first crossing I did was from London to New York, and there was something very, very powerful about that experience and thinking about it. So it's really profound, and I think it transcends cruising in a lot of ways because of that. It is very much a bucket list experience for people who love cruising, or just people who, we actually get, believe it or not, a lot of people who have never cruised before do a crossing. And so we started polling some of these people, and what we found was very interesting is there's a lot of people out there who don't like the idea of cruising, but they did not see a transatlantic crossing as a cruise. They saw it as a very different experience. And so I found that really interesting. And then, as I mentioned, ballroom dancing is huge on board, and people really love to do that. Okay, so moving on here, we do have a new ship coming. It was supposed to come in 2022. Obviously, with everything going on, it seems like everything's gotten pushed back. So now that will be in 2023. We are really excited because it'll be our first new ship in 13 years once she arrives. She'll be our largest ship from a passenger standpoint at 3,000 guests. And the design team is led by Adam Tahani, who is very famous for a number of luxury hotels, restaurants around the world, and most recently did Seabourn's latest 2 ships, the Encore and Ovation. So really excited to have him leading the design team. I want to give you an update of where we are on our pause of operation right now. We unfortunately had to pause through November, or for 2 ships to November 1st, and for Queen Elizabeth through November 23rd. Obviously, everything is up in the air until we get some guidance about when we can return to service. But we think this is a little bit more realistic, at least pause for now. And for those voyages that we cancel, we really try to take care of our advisor partners out there and the guests. We were providing guests either the option of getting 125% FCC or 100% refund. Regardless of what direction they go there, we are protecting on fully paid bookings. We're protecting the commission for our advisor partners. And those FCCs can be used on voyages that are booked all the way through 2021. So we try to create a lot of flexibility there. So give you also a little idea, what are things that we've been doing since we've been paused. It's obviously slowed things down a little bit. We've really tried to engage the trade in a lot of different ways. One of the ways that we've been doing that are with these, what we call Cunard at Home, where we're doing these Zoom interviews with a lot of our partners. We've really tried to, you know, everybody's this whole Zoom environment, or you guys are using the Google platform, but now it has become so much part of our norm, really, the new normal, right? So, you know, we thought these would be fun to get either between some of our partners, different people that we've worked with. The latest one we did was with Badgley Mishka because they were going to host our fashion cruise. And so partners like that we've worked with in the past. Some of you may know Bob Wittick, and we did one with him as well. And I think John and I are going to work out doing one together next week sometime. And then we do fun fact. Take a lot of historical events that happen on Cunard and share things like that. So really on social media, we're really trying to be just engaging. And these are not real hard Cunard pushes. They're more, they're meant to be conversation. They're meant to be fun and engaging. And so we've got some really good feedback on that. And then from a marketing standpoint, most of what we've been doing is really B2B. We've really just been trying to engage our advisors once again. What we have done on the B2C side has been more of a dreaming campaign, trying to kind of plant those seeds of where you're going to travel next and all the great things that you can do on Cunard. But it's been very, it hasn't been very heavy on promotional push. So that is that. And then I just wanted to close with mentioning our Facebook page. If you're not following us, this is trade facing only. We've been doing this for about 2 years. It's a great way to engage with the trade beyond going to events and things like that. So Cunard NAM sales, if you're on Facebook and you're not following us already, give it a go and let us know what you think about the content that we're putting out there. And so with that, I want to thank you very much for the time and the partnership with you all. And we're excited to really expand our partnership and open to any questions you all might have.
Thank you so much, Steve. I know we're going to get into questions. I know people are starting to unmute. But before you do that, I would just want to encourage everyone to check out Cunard's profile on IGLTA. I'm going to link it in the chat. It's a really great profile, and there's a video on there featuring George talking, which I know is one of the celebrities you guys have featured in the past, and he talks about just how amazing it is to sail with Cunard and why he picks Cunard every single time. So there's Cunard's IGLTA profile in the chat, and feel free to go ahead and start asking your questions.
I have a question. What else is new? No. First of all, I want to say, Steve, that my first cruise experience as a professional travel agent in those days, but now I'm an advisor, was in 1980 when I worked as a hostess at the gay watering hole called Trinity Place in San Francisco. And I put together a cruise party, and I ended up taking over 18 of our 18 people who were actually coming to the restaurant all the time. and we had a great time. So that was my first cruise and my first cruise party. That was successful, and I was working for an agency called West Wind Travel at the time.
Wow. It's amazing how many people I have up to me, advisors and beta events and things, and their first cruise experience, their, you know, great memories. You know, my mom came over on Queen Mary, you know, the original Queen Mary, you know, stories like this that are very, very rich. You know, the brand has touched people in a lot of really profound ways over the years. And it's, you know, I always feel like just a lot of pride representing such an iconic brand.
Yes, and I actually ended up because of that experience having a partner for 6 years, a lover because of it. She had such a good time. That's the best way to go, right?
That's right, for sure. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hi, Mike. See my friend Mike Fuller down there?
Steve, I have a question for you. You know, there's obviously a lot of talk about social distancing and safety and cleanliness. And, you know, we've been hearing a lot about that from our airline partners, also from our other cruise partners. Can you tell us what is planned as far as, you know, and cruise ships are some of the cleanest ways to travel as it is already, but I think the public perception may be different. So would you like to share some of that with us about what you all are doing in that aspect?
Yeah, great question, Clark. Yeah, so this one's a little bit tricky. What I will say is this is being handled on a corporate level. So Carnival Corporation has a team that is dedicated to working with the CDC, World Health Organization, the health organization in England, and we're there talking to them on a daily basis. So, you know, at some point, they're all going to come out with, this is the protocol that's going to be required. That is going to entail screening to get on board the ship. It's going to entail certain different cleaning protocol that's enhanced. To your point, Clark, already, if you're on board a ship, you see how the measures that are taken to make sure that the ship is clean, that they're constantly cleaning public spaces. Well, you know, I think that's going to be elevated to another level. And whatever the requirements are, our expectation is to take it to another level, to go above and beyond that. So, you know, I think it will be initially when we come back, and I think this will probably be the case for all cruise ships. I think to the social distancing points, we probably will not be sailing at full capacity. You know, it may be 50% or something along those lines. So right now we're doing a lot of modeling of what that'll look like, and, you know, really to be prepared so that when they come out and say, this is what we expect you to do, that we're ready to like flip the switch and be ready to go based on those requirements. So that's kind of the work that's being done right now. It's really a wait and see until we really make an announcement. I know there's some other cruise lines have gone out and said, like, these are the things that we're going to do. Well, that's great, and a little very, very high level. I think a lot of them are a little bit, yeah, we're definitely going to be cleaning every public space on an ongoing basis. We all kind of expect that. But the specifics of what that will look like, no one really knows until we hear from these organizations and there is some alignment there. So as soon as we know something, we're going to definitely get that news out there and share it. But it's definitely a huge focal point for us right now.
Hey, Steve, it's Mike. It's been great working with you all on groups. Can you just tell the whole team, like, how Cunard handles groups and how easy it is?
Absolutely. We try to we like to brag a little bit that our group program is one of the richest out there in the industry. We have a lot of different amenities. We have great TC earning potential. Our ratios are relatively low compared to other cruise lines out there. And we've got a team that's dedicated to that, to really make it a simple proposition, a great earning proposition for advisors. You know, for us, there's a lot of our biggest success stories are in groups that have, you know, done well. So we really try to make the program easy, rich, to really help you all.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Hi. Hey, Richard.
Good. Just a quick question for you. I noticed Babs and Jay with their dogs, and mine is over there taking a rest. Can you tell me a
Yeah.
little bit more about exactly what that quarantine experience is like for a pet on board? Are they restricted only to that area? Tell me a little bit more about what that's like.
Yeah, definitely. So they do have to stay in the kennel space. The kennel space is rather large, actually. You saw that image of the deck. That deck extends all the way around to the other side of the ship. And so the dog, usually one of the magical moments is when the kennel master kind of says that, okay, everybody can play nicely together. They let them all out of the kennel and they're all running around. They're completely safe. They can't jump over anything. And only the owners and the staff have access to that whole area. There's an indoor play area, and then the actual kennels themselves, we have larger ones and smaller ones. The smaller ones are $700 for the crossing. The larger are $1,000. If you had like two smaller dogs, they can share a larger kennel as well. Owners have access pretty carte blanche. They can kind of go anytime they want and spend time with their pet. They cannot take them to the cabin. I get that question a lot, and that's just really safety and liability reasons. But it is, I'll tell you, it's a really popular experience. The fee that I mentioned, it covers all their food and all their needs. We check with the owners ahead of time to find out if there's any dietary needs that we will accommodate. They do things like homemade dog biscuits. Your pet gets a certificate showing they crossed the Atlantic Ocean. They get an embroidered Queen Mary II jacket. Like all of these really cool things that we do. Oh, and then when the captain does his captain's cocktail party, it's fun how he'll kick it off and say, "We've got some very VIPs on board," and he starts reading the names off, the pet's name and the owner's last name, and so no one knows what's going on, but those VIPs are the pets that are in the kennel. So it is it's something that Cunard's been doing for a long time, and we love that we have the exclusive rights of this great experience. I mean, that pets are so close to everybody, right? And so I think we appreciate our pets even more during this time, right? So people want to travel.
Cool. Thanks, Steve.
Sure. My pleasure.
Craig Smith in the chat wrote, "He missed the beginning and is curious when Cunard will beginning or resume cruises."
Yeah, so right now we are paused until November. Our hope is, this is our most extensive pause that we've done. We're hoping that this gives us space so that hopefully things do start opening up. We do get that direction of what cruising is going to look like. Borders start opening up so that we can resume. But it's, who knows when it will actually be. But I think that's a fair estimate to say by the end of the year.
Steve, there's another question in the chat. Can you please post the Cunard Facebook group page?
Yeah, absolutely. Can I put it in here? Let's see. Oh, gotcha. It is.
Do we have any other questions? Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, Steve, since many of your clientele is probably in their 60s and over, that's just something I'm assuming because of the nature of it. I, as a travel agent or travel advisor, still do not feel from this kind of presentation that I have any kind of information that I can pass along to my clients who are considering it, because we really think that there's going to be a huge trust factor and a safety health factor. It seems like during your conversation you used the word, it's so tricky, everything that is going on and pause of the operation, but you never use the word COVID-19 pandemic or any of that. Is that all corporate kind of spin, or the words, or is it just coming from you?
No, that's just coming from me. I mean, I think this is our COVID-19 is our reality, right? It's everybody in the world. It's, you know, if anything, it's, we all have something in common, right? We're all dealing with this. And cruise, unfortunately, did get, I think, a bit of a bad rap with the Diamond Princess situation. So it's definitely not a spin of any sort. We're hitting everything head on. COVID-19 is a real impact on every aspect of our life. And we know on board a cruise ship, getting consumer confidence is going to be a challenge. And so that's why getting that guidance from, you know, these different health organizations is going to be so important. Now, again, what we're going to be doing is trying to create social distancing. We're going to be cleaning public rooms at every turn. We're going to have extra staff on board to do that. But when I say it's tricky, it's because we don't know the specifics or what the requirements are. We're speculating. We're putting together protocol that we think we're going to need to. We're shooting for the stars of making it as clean as possible in every space to try to eliminate any risk of spreading the virus at all. But we're also all learning about the virus. You know, the CDC is still learning about the virus and how it spreads and how, you know, where the major risks are. So to your point, absolutely, we understand that gaining confidence in the consumer is monumental. We have to make that happen. So it's a work in progress. Is kind of the best way I can kind of put it right now. And anybody who's saying anything further than that, they're speculating. To be honest, we think we know what we're going to need to do, but we're hoping that we'll have some good news that we'll be able to pivot off of sooner rather than later. I wish I had all the answers. I really do.
Steve, I'm curious. Babs mentioned she believes your consumer base skews older. Is that true, or do you find what do you find in your consumer base? Does it like?
So our demographic is from an age standpoint. Our average age is 62. It skews a little bit lower for transatlantic crossings, more about 59 for transatlantic crossings. You know, that could very much be something that's required, that, you know, guests 70 years and older maybe need a doctor's note that they're well enough to cruise. So, you know, that, who knows what are going to be the requirements. So, you know, we're monitoring all these things. Again, we're in touch on a daily basis with all these different organizations, and it is one of our top priorities right now.
Of course. Do you have other questions for Steve? I know there's some discussion in the chat about, oh, well, actually, Craig has a question. Will both the CLIA and the CDC need to sign off on any new protocols? I'm assuming he's asking any new protocols that Cunard specifically is putting in place.
Yeah, so I talked to Charlie Cilia from CLIA recently, and they are also talking to the CDC kind of on a daily basis as well. So everybody is really trying to align, I think, so that we're all on the same page. You know, as it is, it's interesting. You go outside, you know, things are starting to open up a little bit, but there's so much inconsistency out there. So, you know, you get it runs the spectrum of people wearing masks in their cars to people running around without masks trying to get into stores. It's just, so, you know, I think there's such a huge importance for us to create some consistency in not just the cruise space, but I think in the travel space of airlines, cruise, hotels, like that there is a consistency. And so I think aligning with these health organizations is really important, and I know CLIA feels it is as well. So I'll scan these questions here. The Canada-US border isn't likely to reopen for tourism until late July, and could be extended. Yeah, I agree. So we unfortunately had to cancel our whole Alaska season, and we were doing all of our sailings out of Vancouver. That was one of the things that influenced our decision to cancel the whole season on our last pause. We had some sailings in Canada, New England that go into October. Again, that had a big impact on our decision to pause through November, given that Canada has been very, very cautious, I think, from the get-go.
This is usually a very vocal group.
I know.
Quiet today.
So quiet. Well, as you all know,
So that means I answered.
Everybody's on mute. If you have a question, just speak up.
yeah. Well, and usually around this time, sometimes we do kind of start to lead into kind of like our Q&A and our open-ended discussion. So feel free again to just kind of, I know it's been kind of in the chat, but if you want to bring it, vocally, like things you're seeing in your local region or whatnot in the areas you're selling, like, Canada not having that open US border is impacting you, and you want to, share and discuss and hear other people's feedback. This is our time we have each week to have those discussions.
What is, everybody is so quiet.
Yeah. It's unusual.
Come on now. Let's have kind of find out what's going on in your area. How are things, Clark? How are things going in Europe, darling?
We are starting to come out of confinement more and more. People are out in the bars and the cafes, only in the exterior. You can't go inside. And to Steve's point earlier, you go outside and you see some people wearing masks, you see some people not wearing masks. People are, trying to social distance, but then you have someone that walks up and stands next to you, so it's really, really challenging. But it is nice to at least go outside and not see empty streets in Paris anymore and see actual physical, living, breathing people out there, enjoying a beer or exercising or whatever. So we see the light at the end of the tunnel, and cases are going down. Hospitals are not over capacity. So we've got a handle on it, and we're hoping that there won't be, a relapse later on. Tourism is definitely at the top of mind. As the French take the entire month of July and August off for vacation every year. So that's been a big discussion, and the country knows that tourism is going to drive the economic recovery. And there was a report on the news today that 87% of French people, so almost 9 out of 10 people, are planning to stay within the country for their summer vacation this year, which I don't think comes as any surprise to anybody. But in the normal year, it would be 2 out of 3 people. So this is, it's a clear indication that people want to travel, but they're going to be staying closer to home. So that creates both opportunities and challenges for the tourism industry in France and the global tourism industry. What's interesting about what Steve said about the crossings too, and I would also like to take this opportunity to recognize Cunard and Carnival, their parent company, as an IGLTA global partner, and thank them for that support. But what's interesting about what Steve said is, the crossing becomes, a lot of people don't want to get on airplanes right now. And the crossing becomes a really great alternative to travel between Europe and mainland US. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how people's travel habits shift and how attitudes shift also. And I think the cruise industry is going to be a big part of that. Something that was interesting in our IGLTA post-COVID travel survey that we just did recently was the number of people that responded saying that they are very likely to take a cruise within the next 6 months. And it was 13% of our respondents, which is pretty impressive given the challenges that the cruise industry is faced with. And knowing, if you're not sailing again till November, 54% of respondents said that they plan on traveling before the end of the year. So there's some real opportunities there for you as travel agents to be selling these types of packages, and for our industry partners to be creating products that that correspond to that kind of demand.
Clark, can I ask a question? Wasn't it only 25% who would consider international travel before the end of the year? Because that's, of course, important to me as
Right,
well as to Carnival.
That may be right. I'll have to look at the survey real quickly while we're talking to double check that. But yeah, we did ask that question too. I can double check that and get back to you.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that survey, we had 15,000 respondents, but it's international. So, for a long haul flight, within North America is very different than within Europe. For example, like a 3-hour trip in Canada or in the US, you're still in the same country, but that would not be the case in Europe. But I did just put the link in the chat if you guys want to access that. We have the overview for globally, but then the top 5 markets that we had respondents, which include Canada, US, Brazil, France, and Mexico. So there's some really good data in there, and it's a really large sample size, but I think you'll appreciate some of the data in there for your planning. It is short term, it's before the end of the year, like Clark mentioned.
And yeah, Andrew, it was 27% that said they would be willing to take a long haul flight in the next 6 months.
Is that in the US?
Well, this is.
I was looking at the US figures.
Okay, this is. I'm looking at the global figures, but the US is coming up, and even if it is 25%, that's still 25%. That's great. Yeah. So US is specifically 25% for just the US. 36% medium haul and 43% short haul. So.
And this is for very likely before December 31st. So this is very short-term desires.
Right.
With 68% of respondents saying that they would feel comfortable traveling before the end of the year, with most of that falling in September being the highest month.
Great. So I just want to add, it's a very different side of things, but a lot of people are talking about whether you can bring products online to keep your market kind of engaged. And I've been having mega success with that. We started a line of online products 2 weeks ago, and we've had about 150 people come to each event. So it's not a big earner. I found you can charge people. I'm charging them $10. I don't think I'd charge them much more. But nonetheless, it keeps people engaged, and it's a good way to build market while things are slow. So I don't know, it depends on your products, but so far to be recommended.
So for you, the products, Andrew, are the tours that you were talking about the last time. So you've actually, which is fabulous. We talked about it. You got motivated. You actually threw something together, and now you have some numbers to tell people, which is wonderful. So cheers to you. I only have water, but I'll have a toast to you, okay?
Thank you. Thank you, Babs.
I can tell you a little bit about what's happening in Canada. There's been a lot of information published this week. Can you hear me?
Very quiet.
Little louder, Liz.
Once again, I'll try to lift things up here. Is this any better?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's my old computer I'm using. So there's been a lot of tourism information being published in Canada this week. There's a national tourism destination fund that's being marketing fund that's being launched for regional marketing. This morning, the Newfoundland tourism minister was interviewed, saying that they expect that they will only go as far as having Atlantic regional bubble tourism this tourist season. It won't even be opening up to the rest of Canada. this tourist season, much less the US, unfortunately. And right now, we're not open yet in Toronto area and Montreal are still within their own local bubbles, but the rest of Canada is beginning to open up on a regional basis, still within their own provinces. And it's looking like it's going to be that focus for this tourist season this year.
Does anybody want to hear about Las Vegas?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, no. So basically, we call it open, but maybe there's 8 resorts that are open, with one opening today, Excalibur. MGM has the most that have opened up, but MGM has been one that's been the most aggressive all along with everything. So Cosmopolitan opened up with a huge bang, but no one was wearing masks. Nobody was social distancing. And so it remains to be seen what happens. These people will leave town and we'll be here. So we'll have to see. Caesars opened up with the Flamingo and Caesars, and also they're opening up with Harrah's now because of the name recognition. The win, of course, was at the beginning with the 23 pages of what they were going to do. And then I think a lot of people looked at it and said it was great. And a lot of people were using that as a template. People at the airport during exit surveys would say, well, it's nice to be back. It's nice to have the tables and places to gamble. But they say it's kind of eerie is the word they use, that there's hardly anyone around. The restaurants, let's say in the in the forum shops like Joe's and a lot of the other places are opened up with good social distancing, great, protocols. You feel comfortable, you trust, it's great. But you walk around the forum shops, nobody's there. And then you walk into Caesars and no one's there. So basically that's what we've got. But locally, for those of us who live there, things are opening up nicely and people are out. But I would say again, just like what Clark was experiencing in Paris, that you don't see even 70% of the people wearing masks. So it depends on where you feel about going out and doing things. Somebody sneezed in my face the other day. I was wearing a mask, so I'm self-quarantining again for a while because I don't feel comfortable going out. We'll find out. Anyway, that's Vegas for you, babies.
So I just want to add, I don't know has anyone else flown? I did. I had to. So I flew from Provincetown to Boston. So for somebody who flies around the globe all the time, it's amazing that was like my first flight in months and months. But,
19 minutes, right?
But the airport was creepy.
Mm.
There was nobody at Logan at all. It was like landing at Logan at 4 a.m.
Mm.
I don't know if I might have been the only person there except for cleaning staff. So, yeah.
I'm curious, since we're talking about different locations, I know, Steve, you're based on the West Coast, and the West Coast kind of is leading this whole scenario to go in the U.S., kind of like the first impacted and the first to go on. I'm curious, like stay-at-home orders. Are you seeing some change, or is it still pretty much kind of holding as is?
Yeah, it's opening up a bit. It's been slow. Every county in California is different, so depending on what their numbers look like, they have 3 different phases that you got to go through. Right now, most of us, I think, are in phase 2, which is restaurants just starting to open. But even that, it's maybe 5% of restaurants are open for dining in, anyhow. But I have gone to. I've eaten out like 3 times now. And it's all been done well. It's all been, tables are kept apart. They try to maximize the outdoor space because you get the more, air flowing and everything. And then everything else has been really low. Like shopping really hasn't happened yet. So everybody flocks to the beach. You can't sit on the beach, but you can walk or do something active on the beach.